What is going on, everybody? This is episode 76, Toddy. 76 of Stats Over Politics. Once again, this is an NBA only episode. My name is Kevin Denton, doing the best that I can to step in for our host, Shaun. And like always, the dynamic duo. We got Jaevon, Toddy in the cut. How you doing today, Toddy? I know your Celtics just took an L, man, but how you doing?
Not only that, I'm just trying to, before the podcast, I take me like a little nap sometimes just to try and get myself make sure everything's all
the
good.
vibes going.
Get the vibes going. And I'm just checking my phone throughout the pod, like right before, and I saw obviously that the Celtics lost, but I know this is a basketball only podcast, but I saw that you guys got Caleb Downs.
And who is you guys, Toddy? Just for those that don't know.
You guys is the Ohio State Buckeyes. As most people know, the Alabama Crimson Tide are kind of in the downpour right now ever since Nick Saban retired. And so basically they're just losing all of their recruits, all of their basically their roster is basically entering the transfer portal, and they're losing a bunch of their recruits. And Caleb Downs is probably, let's just say today right now, if he entered the draft right now, he'd be the number one defensive player probably taking off. He's like that. And he just committed to, he was basically going to be like the next Minka Fitzpatrick, if that makes sense, to Alabama. And he just committed to Ohio State, which was pretty crazy. Yeah. And Ohio State just got, what's his name? Bill O'Brien too, who signed. So you guys might be good next year. And I saw another thing about this kid who committed to Alabama. Sayin is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Julian Sayin. He's like a 5-star. He won like all of the fucking I think Elite 11 and all these crazy like camps for 2024 commits for quarterbacks. And he committed to Alabama, and obviously when Nick Saban retired, he entered the transfer portal. And I saw one of the names that were on there was Ohio State. And actually another school that's on there was USC. Just want to mention that too. I was kind of shocked by that. But Ohio State was on that list, and I put in the group chat. I was like, if you guys get him, might be up for y'all next year. Because you guys got a bunch. Everybody's pretty much coming back except Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyle McCord. For the most part, you guys are returning most of your defense. You guys picked up Quinshon Judkins, I think, is one of the better running backs. Travion Henderson's coming back for you guys. Like, your team is looking all right. Like, you guys are trying to come back and make something happen. I usually hate all y'all, but this is like kudos. I'm giving the Ohio State Buckeyes kudos here on episode 76, basketball podcast.
So, like you said, this is an NBA episode. I just got to get your opinion on this because one of my good friends, Shenard Hartz, we go back and forth on Alabama all day, and I was telling him I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama fell off. And he was like, so what's the definition of falling off? And I said, they're still going to win 7-8 games. But I think they're going to have 3-4 losses. And when you look at it, I understand they expanded it to 12. So now it's kind of going to look a little different. You don't have to hit top 4. But Bama for the past 3 seasons doesn't run the SEC. And a team in their conference brought home the natty 2 years in a row. So as of lately, Nick Saban hasn't really been doing his thing. But I'm interested to kind of see what it comes in because, like I said, I mentioned my boy Shenard Hartz. The coach actually coached at University of Sioux Falls, is where my boy played. So that's another reason why I think he's so loyal to him. But I'm just and he keeps telling me you wouldn't go to Duke if they offered you without Coach K. And I said, and I keep telling him basketball and football is completely different. I don't know. I think A.J. Brown said if 11 players don't do their job, the play is done.
Yeah.
Basketball, it's we can still get 2, 3, 5 stars and have a run and have a chance. You know what I'm saying? But in football, it's literally all 11 guys. And we saw, I'm an Eagles fan. When the O-line's not playing, it don't matter who's throwing the ball, who's running the ball, who's catching the ball. You can't do nothing. So real quick and brief, what are your expectations for Alabama?
Well, going back to what you're saying about Duke, I feel like it's a little bit different for basketball just because but it's kind of the same too because Coach
But it's not because before you go in, Coach K recruited Shire's first class.
Yes.
Saban could have retired later and still brought in the guys. But because he's so early, it's like, And before I let you go, my boy was like, Kevin, he took Washington to the Natty.
Yeah.
He was there for 2 seasons. It's not like he got it out the mud, and it's not like he didn't have NFL players all over the place.
Yeah.
I get, but Washington expectations and Bama expectations, like I was telling my boy, like they were in a game with USF, and that never happens. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but keep it brief so we can get this thing rolling. But just what are your thoughts on Alabama?
You're going to see a slight decrease. They're losing a lot of talent rapidly. Like they're losing a lot of 5 stars, 4 stars. The guys are doing, but guys that are already on the roster that are NFL guys in the future are leaving. So it's going to be, you're not going to see your 10-2s winning SEC championships right off of the bat. And Saban, I didn't even expect him to win the SEC championship this year, and Saban was able to get it done. So, I mean, you're going to see a decrease now, even just with the quarterback situation. You know, Milroe is kind of, you know, we'll see what Kalen DeBoer can get out of Milroe. Milroe doesn't enter the transfer portal, but you're going to see a decrease. I still think they can make the playoff, but I don't know how far they can go. I expect 8-4, 9-3, but 8-4, I don't know if that'll get you in. 9-3, maybe we'll still be able to get you in.
I don't know, bro. With 12, it's so different now because, of course, there's no 5th conference. Yeah. So the Power Fours get in, and there's 8 spots left or 7 spots left. So I don't really know how that's going to work.
There's going to be a bunch of people from – it's going to be Big Ten, SEC. That's going to be the majority of the teams that get in.
It's going to be interesting, man. But that's another day, another topic for another day. Excuse me. Like I said, my name is Kevin Dent. I'm doing great. As you guys all know, I live in the Pacific Northwest, the Oregon area and the Portland, and it has been ice, baby. And it's funny because it actually took DeAndre Ayton to not go to his game because for the snow, and everyone be like, oh, shit, Kev wasn't bullshit. It's nasty up there. And I was telling people, like, this shit is no joke. And it's not even like when you picture snow, you think coming from the sky. This was just a literal ice storm. So shit was ass, but we're on the tail end of it now, so we're all good. But Toddy, I'm going to take this one first for this week in the NBA because I really don't want you to take mine. So every week, Toddy comes in here and gives me credit for saying Chet Holmgren Rookie of the Year. Toddy, I think it's up. Victor Wembanyama, his last 9 games, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 1 block. 26 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks. 26 points, 1 rebound, 2 blocks. 16 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 blocks. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks. 21 points, 7 rebounds, 1 block. 30 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 blocks. So he is doing it all. Like Toddy mentioned, he's really only playing 20, 24 minutes a night. So it's really interesting to kind of see now that he's a full-time 5 instead of a 4, kind of seeing how his minutes have been affected. And another thing, Toddy's got J-Dub. 3 straight games with 25 points. Last night, he went for 27 points, 8 assists, and made 4 threes on 11 of 14 from the field. His 3rd game of over shooting 75% from the field, which is the 3rd most in the NBA today. And then lastly, LeBron James has played over 35% of players in NBA history. So let me give you guys some math. There's been 76 NBA seasons, and Bron's in year 21. So LeBron James has been all over the place. And before I throw it to you, Toddy, I saw this stat, and I really want to see what your basketball IQ is looking like. So can you give me the 5 players who scored the most points in the 4th quarter on average?
Wow, that's a good one. So I'm gonna have to say Shea. Shea's in there?
Nope.
Shea's not in there. Okay. Jalen Brunson?
Nope.
Brunson's not in there. Okay. In the 4th quarter, you said?
4th quarter.
De'Aaron in there?
Nope. It's honestly crazy. So I'm going to give you one. So the first person is Giannis Antetokounmpo at 8.8 points a night. You'll probably only name 2 other people on this list.
Dame?
Nope.
Dame's not on the list. Wow. In the 4th quarter, averages Wemby's on the list, I guess.
No. All right, so let me give it to you. So the leading scorers in the fourth quarter, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo at 8.8, Terry Rozier at 8.5, LaMelo Ball at 8.4, Anthony Simmons at 8.3, and your boy, Ice Trae, 8.2, just to hit it off the list. So that was my This Week in the NBA. It was an interesting stat to see because LaMelo and Terry have kind of switched roles because LaMelo's been hurt a lot. So for him to still hold that average and haven't been playing shows a lot. But Terry Rozier has came up on that list and is doing his thing and is single-handedly carrying this team without LaMelo Ball. Now that he came back, obviously, but Terry Rozier over the past 2-3 weeks has been carrying this team. So, Ty, what do you have for us for This Week in the NBA?
This Week in the NBA, I think I've had him before on here. It's Kobe White. He's been a guy that kind of in the absence of Zach LaVine has stepped up in that, filled that scoring role, and Chicago has actually been playing pretty well. So over his last 10 games, I'd say his highlighted like big games that he's had, 27, 30, 25, 23, 26, another 25. I think this guy, Kobe White, has been playing flat out phenomenal. He's been shooting the ball very well, averaging, I'd say, around 48% from the field, which is insane. So he's getting to the basket, getting high percentage looks, shooting the three ball well. And I just think if Kobe White, I feel like Billy Donovan is kind of preparing Kobe White to have this role with Zach LaVine being in trade talks, but it also came out that Zach LaVine is going to be out for another 1 to 2 weeks with an ankle injury. He got hurt yesterday again in his game against Toronto. He got hurt, came back, tried to play, didn't really work out, but Shaun just came out and said that he's going to be out again. So, but I'm also hearing that Brian Windhorst is saying, Zach LaVine trades are kind of dying down. His market isn't as what it's supposed to be. So
can't stay healthy.
People are trying to attach an asset for him to be a part of it. And I'm starting to think that Kobe White is starting to become untouchable just based off of how well he's been playing without the absence of Zach LaVine. So I'm thinking, maybe it might be a DeMar and a Zach LaVine trade that you might see because Kobe White's been hooping. He's been averaging about 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in the last 10 games. So I think Kobe White will be a future piece that they'll love to see. Former Tar Heel, by the way. Let's get that out.
I was waiting for it.
But I think Kobe White has been hooping. Another guy who I'll give you another list. Another guy on my list. RJ Barrett. I think he's been playing phenomenal. The last 10 games that he's been hooping. His average of points have went up for the season. From 18 to 20. But his some of his best games that we've seen in those last 10 games were 26, 24, 24, 23, 37. I think with this new role that he's been given in Toronto is like he is kind of, one of the primary scorers on the team besides the Scotty Barnes. Obviously, we saw Pascal Siakam get traded, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I feel like his role has kind of increased on him being the guy. We need scoring from you. And he's kind of stepped up to the plate since being in Toronto. So him quickly, and obviously now Scotty will be those primary guys that have to go get a bucket for them. And I feel like he's going to, increase his productivity now, given the role that he's in currently. So have to give props to RJ Barrett. I even came out and tweeted it on X a couple of times, like, hey, man, I don't know if y'all watching Toronto, because I've been gambling on them. But RJ Barrett he's been hooping. And I have to give him his props for sure.
Definitely, man. And then he's doing what we all expected him to do, especially me being a Dookie. I expected him to come out, It's really hard to live up to expectations, especially for RJ Barrett, because when you're drafted behind Zion Williamson and John Morant, the bar is set so high. And you said it maybe on the week that OG got traded. He just couldn't live up to it, man. When you're drafted with those two guys ahead of you, you're expected to, if not be in the same caliber, be a tier under them. And we're talking 2 all-stars, 2 guys with signature shoes, A, B, C, and D. But it's just different role because the Knicks, weren't really bringing in RJ to be the number one guy in the comparison to Zion Williamson and John Morant. So I'm always going to support RJ Barrett, and he's back home, man. So you're, of course, going to play good. You get home cooking every night, and, you're just living your life. But we had some big news, Toddy, coming over. We talked about Pascal Siakam trade for about 2-3 weeks on this podcast, and it finally happened. The ball dropped. Pascal Siakam traded to the Indiana Pacers for Bruce Brown and 3 first-round picks. So what were your thoughts on not only the trade package, but the combination of Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam?
I love the trade. I just think, there's another primary scorer for Indiana. There's another guy who can get his own bucket, create his own shot in Pascal Siakam. Proven winner, former All-Star, and obviously an NBA champion. So with a guy in Tyrese Halliburton who's actually coming off of injury tonight, and I think Pascal Siakam is making his debut tonight as well. Halliburton gets a scorer who is kind of just give me the ball, and Halliburton has no problem with giving the ball up. Can play without the ball in his hand. He's averaging, north of 12 assists per game. So he's getting another wing scorer who can kind of just go out and create for himself. And I think those two together will probably mesh fairly well. I think it'll take a couple of games, obviously, with Halliburton coming off of injury and, Siakam to kind of get his feet wet in the, system that Rick Carlisle has kind of concocted up. I think it'll take some time for them to kind of, mesh together, but I feel like it's going to work out. As far as them, I feel like they can make some noise in the playoffs, but obviously we already know what the playoffs has looked like. It's been kind of non-existent for the Pacers in the past couple of years, but, getting Halliburton in a trade a couple of years back and kind of just seeing what he's capable of doing, as Kings fans do know what Tyrese Halliburton is capable of. But you're looking at the East and what it's stacked up as. You have the Sixers and Joel Embiid and Maxey. You have the Celtics, who just took an L tonight to the Nuggets. And you also have the Milwaukee Bucks, who made a huge trade in the offseason, acquiring Damian Lillard. So the Pacers already have wins over the Pacers and over the Celtics. So you're looking at it like, okay, we can compete for these guys. And this is a young team. They score the shit out of the ball. So scoring is not a problem for them. I feel like the only thing with the Pacers is they can't stop anybody. So it's going to come down. You're going to be in a bunch of shootouts with this young team who likes to run and gun. But in the playoffs, we all know that the flow of the game slows down. And so it's going to come down to guys having to get a bucket like Pascal Siakam. And you're going to need that in the playoffs. You're going to need that scoring from that half-court scoring from guys like that. And I saw also that there were reports, the initial trade that they were trying to get OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam initially. But obviously, OG Anunoby goes to New York. So that kind of, changes things for Indiana. So the Pacers are still trying to find another wing piece to fit in with this win now that sort of looks like mode for the Pacers. So we'll see who that other guy may be. Maybe it's a Jeremy Grant. Maybe it's a Kyle Kuzma. Zach LaVine could be another guy. We'll see where Indiana, kind of goes with this, but I love the trade too, because I think the Pacers are a very fun team to watch in the Eastern Conference. And we came out and said, where or how far will Indiana drop? They haven't really dropped too far. They're still 7th currently in the Eastern Conference. So
they were 4, weren't they?
They were 4, but it seems like that's only 2 games away in the loss column. So they didn't drop as bad as I thought they would have. They kind of maintained a little bit to a certain extent. So I guess the Pacers kind of maintained getting Tyrese Halliburton back, and now they're adding Pascal Siakam. So I see the Pacers probably finishing 4th in the East, 4 or 5 maybe. That's they'll probably match up with the Knicks or the Cavs is kind of where I'm seeing it. Cavs have been playing great basketball, by the way. So love the trade.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Toddy. If we didn't have the podcast tonight and I didn't have my in-laws in town, I'd be at the game. I'd be at the game because it's in Portland.
Yeah,
and so I was like, Brad Tyrese isn't playing. Pascal's probably not gonna play. And then I got the Woj alert, and I was like,
they're both playing.
Look at the tickets. I was like, it's kind of late. They're not that bad. I said, I could text Toddy and say, I can't make it. And I was like, you know what? But like I tell Toddy all the time, we are in the business of content, and we are giving the people what they want. So my initial reaction to the Pascal Siakam trade, hands down, great trade for the Toronto Raptors. But from the Indiana Pacers side, for them to get Pascal Siakam and not give up Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, or Buddy Hield is a lot. What you saw last night, I don't know if you watched the Kings game, but Jabari Walker finally started to get some minutes. And now we kind of get to see him playing a bigger role. And Pascal Siakam leads.
Jarris Walker.
Jarris Walker. So Pascal Siakam leads the NBA in transition buckets. And guess who leads the NBA in assists in transition? Tyrese Halliburton. I don't know how long this offense can keep it up, but they have the highest offensive rate in NBA history right now. So this team is continuing to play. Tyrese Halliburton's coming out here, going to be the first player in NBA history to put 80, 40, 90 on a double-double, 12 assists and 22 points. So Tyrese Halliburton is doing his thing before the injury. You can arguably say he was an NBA's all-star starter for the Eastern Conference. We did our starters a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if we all had him mutually decided to be in the starting lineup, but Pascal Siakam coming in, averaging 23.6 rebounds, 5 assists, 60% true shooting. And he can shoot the three a little bit. I know that's his one downfall is his 3-point shooting. But this team, like Toddy said, Rick Carlisle's system has put just nothing but shooters around Tyrese Halliburton. So when he drives and kicks, they're knocking it down. Benedict Mathurin is, Toddy saying that the Pacers need another wing presence. I think that could be Benedict Mathurin. He's averaging 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists, shooting 34% from the three. He's coming in, and I really liked this game, even at Arizona when he came back for his sophomore season. You really just saw the growth in his game and not just his ball handling, but his three-point aspect. And he's been able to carry that into the NBA. So this Indiana Pacers team is really going to be something to be looking out for. But Toddy, I wanted to ask you, so obviously when you think Eastern Conference, it's 2 tiers. It's Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know if you're going to put the 76ers in there, but I'm going to put them in that second tier. So now that you put the Pacers in that second tier, they've already beaten the Bucks 4 times this season. Do you see the Pacers after this trade being able to get out of the first round, guaranteed now with the signing of Pascal Siakam, or the trade, he has not signed yet?
I think based off of the trade, their expectations is to get out of and win a playoff series. Giving up certain assets and acquiring Pascal Siakam and probably signing him to a long-term deal is kind of saying we're in a win now mode. This is, with Tyrese Halliburton, him signing his extension in the offseason, and Pascal Siakam, who's on an expiring deal. The front office is believing that they're going to sign him to a long-term deal. And they're still probably trying to make trades in the incoming weeks. So I think their expectation and my expectation as well that they'll get out of the first round. They're probably going to have to average 130, 140 points in that playoff series to win because they don't play any defense. But I see them getting out of, a first round series probably against. They'll probably be underdogs whoever they play, because I feel like they'll be 4, 5, maybe even 6. But it really kind of just depends on who they're going to get matched up against in the first round. Like if they play against the Sixers, or the Bucks, Celtics, it's kind of curtains for them. But if they're playing against like the Heat, the Knicks, the Cavs, it really all matters against who they're matched up with, because how last year we saw how the Clippers were kind of trying to figure out who they were trying to get matched up against. Kawhi just mysteriously doesn't play in the second half of a game, and we were wondering like, oh yeah, he's on a restriction. We're not trying to let him play. Russell Westbrook was trying to figure out like what the fuck was going on. So it really all comes down to matchups. Like if they're matched up against the Celtics, the Bucks, or the Sixers in a playoff series in the first rounds, it's curtains for them. So it's kind of, they want to get matched up against the Heat, the Knicks. I don't think they'll get matched up in the Heat because they're kind of like similar in where they're ranked currently. It's looking like they'll either get matched up against the Cavs or the Knicks. And I feel like that's who they want to play against.
That'd be nasty.
So
talking about the Pascal Siakam trade, the next question I have for you, Toddy, is where do the Raptors go from here? So Masai Ujiri, is that how it's pronounced?
Yep.
Turned OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam into Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, Bruce Brown, Jordan Norara, 3 first-round picks, and a second-round pick. And he came out today and said, we are not done. They have guys on the roster that people might like. You have a Gary Trent, a Dennis Schroeder, and Woj tweeted before the podcast that the Lakers and Knicks are really in the Bruce Brown trade talks. Mm-hmm. So where do you think the Raptors go from here? Are they to continue to keep building around the 3 young guys that they now have, or they just got to kind of keep taking out all the young guys and just really commit to building around Scotty?
They're trying to build around Scotty. They think he's probably Kawhi. I think that's kind of who they believe
Giannis?
Who's going to be. I don't know if he's Giannis. He's not as big.
I mean, Giannis wasn't big coming in, though.
He can. I think he can shoot a little bit better than whatever Giannis was shooting, in his first 1 to 2 years. I feel like Scotty shoots the ball better than a Giannis Antetokounmpo at their age group. But I think, Scotty Barnes, we even heard the coach kind of come out and say he thinks he's going to be the face of the league at some point in time. I'm not sure how old Scotty Barnes is. I think he's like 22. He's young. He's real young. So he's got a bunch of years left to just keep on growing. Last night we saw, his first game without Pascal Siakam.
22.
Yeah, he's like 22 years old. So he's, in that same age group as like Jalen Green,
Cade Cunningham, LaMelo Ball.
Like he's in that age range. I don't think people look at, their drafts. I kind of just go back to what Gilbert Arenas kind of always says. He's saying because people get drafted when they're 17, 18 years old, but they're the same age as, if you compare the guys in age groups to like LaMelo, Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, all of those guys, they're all the same age. But there are other guys that are a lot older than him, but they were in the same draft, so they kind of compare them to your draft. I like what Gil does and says, let's go off who's in your age group and what you're kind of compared as. So for Scotty Barnes to kind of just be handed the keys to the franchise, like pretty much all of those other guys that we already mentioned have at a young age, it's very promising. Now, last year I kind of felt like he had a sophomore-ish type of slump of year, but, it's so hard to judge a guy who's like 17, 18 years old coming into the league, so fresh and just raw talent. They need to bake in the oven for like 2, 3, 4 years. That bake theory, yes, it definitely comes into play for, young guys that come into the league and they need time to develop. So they think Scotty Barnes is basically going to be like a Kawhi Leonard type of player. I see similarities in their games. But I feel like the Raptors have a lot to, look forward to, and Scotty Barnes being their number one guy, having RJ Barrett kind of come in, who's been playing very well, as I already gave you guys the numbers in the This Week in the NBA segment, and Emmanuel Quickly, who's kind of a streaky type of point guard, a very quick guy, first step off the dribble, can get his own shot. As they're all kind of coming into new roles, like in New York, and RJ and Emmanuel Quickly had totally different roles in New York, but now they're in the starting lineup now. So they're all trying to adjust to what their new roles are. And now Scotty Barnes is kind of the guy for the team. I feel like in his first game as, being kind of the guy for the team, he showed what he was able to do. Now, they weren't able to get the win. They have some injuries in their front court that's kind of not allowing them to be able to rebound the basketball as well. And you have Scotty Barnes guarding guys like Vucevic, which makes no sense. But they're going to be one of those teams to kind of look out for, one of those young up-and-coming teams that they can scrap for a 10 spot. They're only 3 games out of the 10 spot currently right now. I don't know if they make the play-in, just based off of there's so many moving pieces on their team, and they have a bunch of injuries. So it's going to be a tough challenge for them, and they have a rookie head coach as well. So the Raptors should be, excited for the future, but, currently right now, we'll see. You'll see a bunch of wow games from Scotty Barnes now that he's kind of the number one option in Toronto. Be like, where the fuck was this at? Well, you had a guy in Pascal Siakam who was, taking the majority of the shots, and now he's gone. So that responsibility is going to be relinquished to Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, man. Scotty Barnes facing the league. I'm not too sure about that, but you mentioned it for this weekend in the NBA. RJ Barrett has been killing. Emmanuel quickly has become he went from a 6-man to a starter role. So I feel like this Raptors team has a great future, building behind your big three of Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly. I don't believe Bruce Brown will be there much longer. It's unfortunate that he paid $10K for a number and he might only be there for 4 or 5 more days. I don't know what the trade actually ends, but the Toronto Raptors have the ammunition to go get another young star. They have the picks. They have a player like Bruce Brown. They have Gary Trent, Dennis Schroeder on expiring contracts. They have the ammunition to go in and grab another good young guy. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they go. You saw the commitment to the backcourt. Scotty Barnes kind of being a front court player. So now they can finalize and bring in another 4 and a 5 to kind of cement this young core. Like Tony said, this Raptors team could be scary looking for. They have a chance to make the play-in right now. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how they all come together. But like I mentioned, RJ Barrett being back home, he's finally coming into being that guy. He be the number 2 option now. In New York, he was the number 3 option. And it's really never matched, like I mentioned, having to come behind guys like Zion and Ja. It's really hard to follow that up. But Emmanuel quickly, I think, can be Tyrese Maxey kind of leap next year. I think he's been really well in a 6-man role. We talked about it a couple weeks ago for our 6-man of the year candidates. He was one of mine because he was killing off the bench. So now for him to get that starting role, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this team develops. But they do have a rookie coach who doesn't hold his lip, which could go kind of both ways. It's both sides of the coins. You're a young guy. You don't really go in there and tell the refs like you fucking suck. We get no calls. But I know the players love to see that. Yeah. So it's definitely on 2 sides of the coin. But moving on, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I asked Toddy the question, who do you feel more confident in, the Lakers or the Suns, to kind of get through this hut? And Toddy said the Suns. So the question today is, are the Suns and Lakers finally turning things around? So Bradley Beal, you guys have heard this name a lot on the podcast. A lot of Kings talking. I was telling Toddy, I don't want it. He's never healthy. And now that he's finally returned from his ankle injury to 10 games, they are 7-3. But this almost was my this week in the NBA. Grayson fucking Allen, dog, balling, shooting 53% from 3, and Kevin Durant is shooting 48% from 3. So having Bradley Beal out there taking some of the ball handling responsibilities off of Devin Booker have been going a long way. They are coming in on a 3-game winning streak. Beat the Sacramento Kings 119-117. I don't know if you guys watched that game, but I did. Kings were up 22, 8 minutes left. I turned the game off. I get a notification saying it's a close game, and the Suns closed the game out on a 32-4 run. Then they beat the Blazers. The Blazers are the Blazers. I'm not going to say too much. These are thin walls. My wife's a Blazer fan, so I'm just keep that to a minimum. And then they beat the Lakers. So this team is finally coming together. We're seeing Devin Booker. Really, the biggest question for me was who's going to be the one guard. Devin Booker is showing that he can do both. And like we mentioned in the group chat all the time, Shaun came on here in the offseason and said if Kevin Durant takes that 3rd role, this team could be really good. So I'm not committed to that, but Kevin Durant has been single-handedly leading this team. So he really takes a lot of the scoring load. Devin Booker's more the facilitator, and Bradley Beal kind of just eats when he can. But Grayson Allen has been coming and being really nice for this team. And the Lakers are also coming in on a 3-game winning streak, beating the Thunder, the Mavericks, and I don't have the 3rd game on, but I forgot who they played for the 3rd game. But there's been a lot of trade speculation around D'Angelo Russell, and he's finally coming in and cementing that he can stay. You see the Lakers kind of dangle that 20, 30, whatever pick, the 1 first-round pick they have for the next couple of years. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves. We've seen the problems with this lineup. The Lakers really just can't get healthy. So I'm still moving forward. I'm still going to have more faith in the Lakers because they have LeBron James, and as Toddy knows, I'm a LeBronologist. So I'm not going to sit here and speak bad about LeBron James. I'm going to ride for him until the wheels fall off. But Toddy, are the Lakers and Suns finally turning things around?
I think I'm gonna go to the Suns first. Suns are on a 4-game win streak. They're currently 8th in the standings, but they're really tied for 5th. Because the 5, 6, 7, and 8 all have 18 losses, and the Suns are creeping up. Devin Armani Booker had 52 points tonight. I don't know if you guys are aware of. I've been Devin Booker stan, I guess. Even going back to, myself and Shaun's old podcast, Shaun and Vaughn, I was always a year too early on the Suns. I would always come and, on the podcast and say the Suns are making playoffs, but, Devin Booker was still like a baby cub figuring out his way. I think it was even before Monty Williams was even hired, but he was just putting up LeBron and Carmelo and D-Wade, Kobe-like numbers when they were in that age range at around like 18 years old. So I was like, oh, this guy's going to be kind of good. But I think the Suns are starting to figure out, like, hey, there's a guy named Devin Booker on the team. I get we have Kevin Durant on the team, but he is the guy. This is the guy who is just give him the ball, and I'm going, like, we've seen him score 70 in a game. So he has that type of killer mentality. And, going back to what Shaun was saying, earlier in the year when this trade happened with Bradley Beal and everything, saying, oh, Kevin Durant, he's got to be the – come on, Shaun, what are we talking about? What are we? This is one of the best scorers in NBA history. History of the NBA. One of the best scorers ever. And you want him to be the third. That's what's never going to happen. But I do think the Suns are kind of starting to figure it out, kind of like what the Clippers are when they first got James Harden, and they were kind of like, we got James Harden to kind of figure out. Now they have Tyronn Lue, who I believe is one of the best coaches in the NBA. So it kind of took them a while to figure things out. It was a lot quicker for them to figure things out. You had guys calling out James Harden, saying this, that, and the third about him, and everywhere that he goes, he's a cancer and blah, blah, blah. But now they're one of the best teams in the league, in the West. Not really hearing that much about the Clippers. But as far as the Suns go, I feel like health was really their only main issue, and that's kind of what it always came down to. Bradley Beal missing, 15-ish games. Kevin Durant was out here and there. You had Devin Booker kind of out here and there. And that's kind of their team. Those three guys, it's like they're all making $40 million plus. And then you look down at the rest of the payroll, it's like $2 million, $1 million, $900K. It's like those three guys are the guys to be on the team. And, when they're kind of in and out of the lineup, it's kind of hard for them to kind of go out and do, and win basketball games, because that's kind of who you're depending on to help you win games. Now, we all get those three guys can get a bucket at any given time. And like I said, even going back to the playoffs, you have three scorers, guys who can close a game. You have three guys that can get a bucket in the half court, because we all know that the playoffs slow down, and so you need a guy that can get a bucket. And I feel like that's going to be the trending theme for these teams in the playoffs. You see a lot of run and gun teams in the Eastern Conference, kind of going to the Pacers. Those guys, we'll see what it looks like in the playoffs when things kind of slow down for them. But as the Lakers are kind of starting to retool, but I feel like we go with them every year. They suck in the beginning, and they're trade this guy, trade that guy, get rid of him.
Well, GM,
LeBron and AD are those guys that kind of they're the steady ones, the two all-stars, I believe, on the team. Usually it's where they are. Kind of just regarding health with Anthony Davis, it's kind of, is he going to be healthy? But he's been playing his ass off. And I think they're kind of starting to get their groove. D'Angelo Russell has been playing fairly well these past, I'd say 4-ish games. We've been seeing him play pretty well. I think they're both starting to turn things around, but the Suns is the team that I kind of believe the more of the two, just based off of the elite talent that they have in Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Let's just say this now: if the playoffs were to start today and the Suns were matched up against the Timberwolves, that would be a crazy matchup. That would probably go 7-7, and I think the Suns would be.
Wes is not gonna like this.
The Suns would be slight dogs in that series if that were to happen. I don't think it will, but I'm saying if the playoffs were to start today, I'd see a lot of people picking the Suns to win just based off of the experience that they have in Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, not Bradley Beal, but Devin Booker. Who's obviously been to a finals. Kevin Durant, who's won Finals MVP, won championships before. And the Timberwolves are like the new, fresh, young team that a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, they're the best team in the league. But you got those other guys on the other team. Like, let's see if they can win in the 7-game series. But I think the Suns will probably finish like 5th, maybe.
And they're 8th right now, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all. It's like 4 or 5. It's like 4 or 5.
We
6,
talked about
7,
last
8.
week. The West is literally 2-3 games
Yeah,
from
well,
everybody.
Well, 5 through 8. So 5 is the Pelicans, 6 is the Mavs, 7 are the Kings, and 8 is the Suns. But they all are kind of like tied because they all have 18 losses. So with that can change by tomorrow. So yeah.
So moving on, we have 2 more talk to the show. This will be a quicker episode. Todd, you got some stuff going on, and like I mentioned, I have my in-laws in town, so we're going to wrap this up pretty quickly. This is episode 76 of Stats for Politics. Kevin Dent is doing his best to step in for Shaun Hoko, and we got our man Jaevon Toddy. So swinging it to you next, Toddy. Do the 76ers need to make a trade to compete with the Bucks and Celtics? Like I mentioned earlier, when you think of the Eastern Conference, there's one tier, and there's everybody else. It's the Celtics and the Bucks at the top. Do the 76ers need to make a trade in order to compete and be in that tier 1 of the Eastern Conference teams?
I think so, but I still kind of believe that some Sixers fans think they're good where they're at. Like they're on cloud 9 right now. Like they just beat the Nuggets the other night. Joel, when healthy, is arguably the best player in the league. He had a 40 ball against the Joker the other night. So Sixers fans are kind of like, do we really need to make a trade and not really mess this whole shindig we got going on right now with the 1-2 punch and Maxey and Embiid? Maybe we could just ride this out and figure out what we'll look like. But I think in all seriousness, the front office is looking like we're just a piece away. Like, Embiid, we know what he is and what he can bring to us in the playoffs. Maxey has been coming along well for them in his first full year being the full-time starter. Maybe if we add another guy, we might be in that conversation. Like, hey, we can win the East. We can win the East. So, kind of guys that I already thought about for the Pacers, Jeremy Grant, another wing player, on a team that's kind of rebuilding in a sense. There's a bunch of guys. I don't know who they would kind of, Levine maybe. I don't know how redundant that would be for them. I feel like they would need a wing, like a 3 guy, like a Jeremy Grant, maybe a Kuzma get added to that team. That would be pretty helpful for them. And that's kind of what I feel like they're in that wing kind of, we need another wing player to kind of help us go out and win. But probably the Sixers need to make another trade. I think if they want to really compete for championships rather than, first round, second round, maybe just get to the Eastern Conference Finals, they think that they could be, because, they have Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP on their team. So they're like, why can't we get to the finals? We don't want to get to the Eastern Conference Finals or the second round and lose, kind of what they've been in for the whole process series and, going into last year. That's kind of where they've been. It's either Eastern Conference Finals or second round. That's kind of it. But I don't think you can roll out this roster and think they can compete with the Bucks or the Celtics currently right now. They have to go out and get another guy for them to be in that situation to be able to compete for championships.
So before today, or before maybe even 2 hours ago, I would have said no. But watching the 76ers play the Magic today, it's really the Joel Embiid show. Tyrese Maxey is a hell of a player, but is he really the most consistent player? And Joel Embiid has 2 more years left on his deal and then a player option, not a team option. So I think they need to go all in. Like I mentioned, there's tiers when it comes to Eastern Conference. There's the Celtics and the Bucks and everybody else. You got the up-and-coming Pacers. You got the Heat. So you really the Sixers are kind of in tier 2, and then there's a tier 3 of everybody else. Maybe now with the Pascal Siakam trade, you can put the Pacers in there in tier 2. Maybe even the Cavs in a tier 2. Maybe a 1A, 1B kind of thing with the Pacers and the Cavaliers. But the 76ers have noticed that the process has led up to this. You got Joel Embiid to be an MVP. You got to get him out of the second round. He has not been out of the second round. Can Tyrese Maxey take that jump and continue it in the playoffs? It's yet to be seen. So to bring in a guy, and I know Tyler's going to love this, but I think they should go after a Kyle Kuzma and a Tyus Jones. Like that package right there would be nice. They have the ammunition from the Ben Simmons trade. They have the picks.
Jordan
they got to
Poole?
go. They got to go out there. Jordan Poole, no, he's staying in Washington. Or even a Zach LaVine. They have to go out there and bring in another guy that's going to go and get it on a night in and night out basis. Yes, there's Tyrese Maxey, and you don't want to stunt his development. I know I've said that over and over on the shows. You don't want to bring in another guy and stunt your young guy's development, but you have to look at the process as a whole. As a Philly fan, you want to go all in. You want to put all your chips in the middle of the table and say, we're going to go out swinging. Either we're just not going to be good enough, but we're not going to not make it because we sat back and thought this team was going to be good enough. And I get it. Tobias Harris, he's a hell of a player every fifth game. I get it. Pat Bev, you have the depth. You have to go all in. This is a star-driven league. You have Joel Embiid. You have a young star in Tyrese Maxey who's going to have to get paid. So if you're going to commit all this money, you have to make sure you have a plan in place to take that next jump. So I believe that they need to make a trade. I would have really been all in for them to go get Pascal Siakam, but I really didn't think that he'd end up in the East. I thought they were going to trade him to the West. I didn't think they ever want to see him again. So that was kind of interesting. But when you look at the Celtics, they're a four-headed monster. You look at the Bucks with Dame and Giannis. Tyrese Maxey doesn't level up to Dame. The Brook Lopez, the Chris Middleton, they have the depth. And another guy I think the 76ers should go after is Bruce Brown. If they can go in there and bring in a Bruce Brown and another big-time guy to add to this lineup, Bruce Brown can guard 1 through 4. So he can knock down the open three, and that's what they need, just more spacing. So if they can pull this together and really just maximize on the opportunity they have right now and say, and go full LA Rams and say, fuck them picks. We can get more picks. There's going to be more draft picks, A, B, C, and D. So last topic of the show. We have a fact or cap, Toddy. It's been a while since we had a fact or cap. Last fact or cap, Toddy was not happy with me when I took Cam Thomas over Jalen Green, but I think we're going to mutually agree to this, Toddy. So fact or cap, LeBron James will retire a Laker.
I'm going to say cap. I don't know. I know LeBron has his son in LA. Whole family's kind of out there set up. So I feel like if he does leave, like his family will still stay in LA and kind of, do whatever it needs to be done. I still think LeBron wants to win another ring. I don't know if I think he kind of knows in the back of his head, like, I don't know if we can win another ring with the team currently in place. Now, that's not saying that the Lakers can't go out and get somebody. Pelinka's known to scheme up a bunch of trades and get guys to LA like he did with Anthony Davis. But he did have to trade a bunch to get those guys, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. Those guys are kind of, well, besides Lonzo, obviously. Those guys are, currently playing pretty well out there. Imagine this team if they would have had Brandon Ingram and a LeBron and
a Kuzma.
And been able to keep those type of guys and still get Anthony Davis. This team would be a lot different. But currently as constructed, I'm not sure if they make a deep playoff run this year. We get it a couple of years ago in the bubble. They were able to win the championship. And some people say that's the hardest championship. Some people think that championship is an asterisk and it shouldn't even be called. There shouldn't even be a banner for the Los Angeles Lakers. I saw reports from, I think it was Ramona Shelburne of ESPN, talking about the reunited and it feels so good with Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie is in Dallas. I'm like, whoa. But can you imagine this team, the Dallas Mavericks with Luka, Kyrie, and LeBron? Now, we get LeBron as what? About to be 40 years old. But he still averages like 26 a game.
26, 8, and 8.
It's like if you could get 22, 25, 24 from LeBron with a Luka, a Kyrie, that team could be scary. And you have a young Derek Lively. So it's not like LeBron is going to be asked to carry the team, because I think if LeBron were to join that team, the best player on the team would be Luka Doncic, in my opinion. He's the guy that the team is building everything around. But if you get Kyrie, Luka, and LeBron on the same team, that's a championship caliber level team. I don't think anybody will want to see those guys in the playoffs. So I think he doesn't have like a contract extension in place. He has
a player option next year, so he can say I'm out.
would think he would have signed something by now if he was staying. So something to look at in the offseason, depending on how the season ends. You guys, the Lakers, I said you guys being LeBron fans, you could see a fallout from LeBron. Maybe he balls out in the playoffs, but they lose first round, second round. And LeBron's kind of wondering, does he take the Laker jersey off? Like he did in Cleveland after they lost to Orlando. Either was it Orlando or the Celtics?
Boston.
I think it was Boston. Yeah, it was Boston, where he took off. Thank you, LeBronologist, for correcting me.
Hey man, I'm doing my job.
So he took off the jersey, and that was kind of it for him. Do we see that kind of happen in LA? I think it happens, and he goes to play with one of these young bucks. he teams up with one of these young teams like a Luka, Kyrie. Kyrie's not young, but we've seen what it looked like when Kyrie and LeBron were the last on, a team together. They were able to win the championship. So LeBron got the pick of the litter and kind of just go wherever. There's teams out there that you add LeBron on there, you could be like, oh hey, they might be able to do something. So I'm gonna say he leaves, goes to Dallas. That's just me speaking. That's what are we? This is Friday, January 19th. LeBron is going to not retire a Laker. Let's just, it's a factor cap segment, but I'm gonna call my shot here and say LeBron goes to Dallas, retires there.
Okay, so factor cap. LeBron James will retire a Laker. I'm also going to go cap. He does have a player option at the end of the season. But I was really half and half on this because on one side of the coin, Anthony Davis played the most games in his career. Mm-hmm. So it's like, he's healthy. He's playing well. It's just everybody else now. Before, the narrative was, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. LeBron can't stay healthy. Now they're both playing healthy, and everyone around them isn't doing their job. Like I mentioned, LeBron James has a player option. Is he going to want to re-sign and see kind of what they're doing unless they can make a splash trade? I think LeBron's out. Unlike Toddy, I don't have a destination for you guys, but like everyone knows, LeBron James Jr. could come out this year, and
maybe that's why he hasn't signed Maybe that's why he hasn't signed yet.
And they ain't got a first-round pick. Yeah. He's like, hey man, I can't stay here. But LeBron James as a free agent, as a LeBron fan, I don't want to see him take less money, A, and B, ring chase. I think as it is, I don't think he needs to win another one. Would he like to win another one? Of course. Who doesn't like winning? But I feel like LeBron, we're kind of past that stage. We don't need him to continue to win championships, continue winning MVPs because he's done it for so long. At this point, I think he really wants to play with his son. But I think he wants to play with his son, yes, but he wants an opportunity to still say, I'm in the dance. So a Dallas Mavericks, a New York Knicks, Golden State Warriors.
No.
He's always said he wanted to play with Steph. Because what you're not getting, he's a free agent. He can go sign for 50 cents on the dollar. Just say, I want to go win. You know what I'm saying? You guys got a first round pick, draft Bronny, and all sign for the shit deal. Let's go win.
The Warriors need a bunch of shit. Even if they add LeBron, I still don't think they're a championship. Even LeBron and Steph Curry. Maybe if this was like 5 years ago and LeBron was able to go play with Steph.
But I mean, shit, if they get LeBron, they can keep playing Draymond.
No. They're not. They wouldn't win.
Bro, their roles are – the reason they're struggling right now is because their roles are up here. When LeBron comes to town, they're right here. Draymond Green's the playmaker. LeBron's going to be the playmaker. LeBron is shooting the best three ball in his career, better than Steph Curry right now. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson right now. So it could be really, really interesting, but it's gonna be crazy to see. But we do have a comment.
Young Bucks.
Bronny is not going one and done though. From my little cousin Tyson Ross. Tyson, I don't think he should. Development wise, he had the cardiac arrest early. He's been kind of sluggish. I mean, this team really hurt. No Isaiah Collier, no Boogie Ellis. Like this three was supposed to really carry this team. So without those two guys, of course, Bronny's going to struggle. But his name was LeBron James Jr. He's not going back to school. I mean, let's just be real. The NBA is a business. He is not going back to school. So wherever people are having him on mock boards with the thought in the back of their head, if we draft Bronny, are we going to get a call from Rich Hall?
Right.
You never know, man. But I'm going to have to go cap. I think he wants to play with his son, and we've kind of seen this Laker tenure kind of come to an end, man. Like Toddy mentioned, they kind of got rid of all their youth to really hone in on that championship run. So it was nice to see. we're seeing AD being healthy and now kind of AD kind of go into that number one role and order the Lakers just blow it up and, get whatever they can for the two players. But LeBron has a player option. So no matter what this season goes, if he's not feeling it, he's going to say, see ya.
I don't think that this isn't when LeBron was kind of like in his prime and you could put him on the Bobcats and they're going to the finals. That's not this LeBron anymore. It's going to be very calculated. You're going to have to look at the roster that's at hand and be like, okay, like even like you were saying with the Golden State Warriors, I don't think if LeBron today joined or next year goes to Golden State, that wouldn't be a championship roster team. Now, like 5 years ago, maybe that might be they're winning the next 3, 4, however many championships. Now, if you kind of have to look at like the younger up and coming teams that are like Minnesota.
Or you can go next door.
Like
Clippers.
Clippers? No, I don't. I think it's too redundant. Those roles kind of over there. LeBron, it would be too clustered if that would make sense. It would be just LeBron, you got PG, you got
Kawhi and PG wants to be Lakers. Why not just do it in the blue jersey?
And James, I don't see that happening. But like if you put him on OKC, put him on Minnesota.
Hey man, I didn't want to say it. You put LeBron James in the 916.
LeBron and Sac can't come to Sac, but he wouldn't go like the
why not? We draft Bronny?
Yeah, if y'all draft Bronny,
my bias hat on right now, and I'm not having my analyst hat on.
I just wouldn't see it happening. I wouldn't see it happening.
We'll see, man. We will see. But this is episode 76 of Stacked Over Politics. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. I was talking to Toddy earlier in the week. Saturday night, because we will be right back here, baby. Go back, go. You got anything else to say?
Niners win and cover tomorrow. Everybody's kind of riding Jordan Love's coattails. I get it. He had a great playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys. But let's remember, San Francisco 49ers won against the Dallas Cowboys early in the year, 42-10. So
the Cowgirls who's lost to the Packers. You ain't worry about them, man.
Yeah, we'll see. Brock Purdy's going to show you hear that everybody's talking shit about Brock Purdy all of a sudden. Let's not forget this man. He did go to the NFC Championship in his first. He wasn't even, brand new out the womb. Oh shit! Jimmy Garoppolo just broke his
Pack is back, baby. The pack is back.
Yeah, we'll show everybody tomorrow.
Before we go, Toddy, we got one more comment from X. He says, how high do you think Bronny would go if LeBron's name was not attached to his draft?
He'd probably go like second round.
You don't think he'd still be first round? Well, it's different because I don't think he'd come out this year if his name wasn't LeBron James Jr.
Yeah, he wouldn't come out if his name wasn't LeBron James Jr. But I think if he were to come out without the name, his name was Gentavious Bronny
or just LeBron Williams or Bronny Williams.
Bronny Williams, yeah. He'd probably be second round. Maybe even late first. Don't say late first. He has first round talent. I
mean, this is a bad draft though, Toddy. This is a
very bad draft.
Very bad draft.
And I think
he might fuck around and be top 20.
He has all the athletic tools, in my opinion, and can shoot the basketball. I just think with the whole cardiac heart injury, he's just trying to get back into shape and play game shape. I think he has the talent to be, one of those really talented guys in the league. It's just, him getting back into shape and just, him not dying has a really big deal for this. And his role kind of changed when, like you said, guys like Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier go down. Those are kind of like the two main scorers on that USC team. And so for him, kind of just trying to get back into shape and be thrust into this role, things kind of changed a little bit for him. So,
I want to go out here and tell everybody, you do not have to average 20 points to be a lottery pick. It's college basketball. They understand you're going with teams that have a lot of talent, so you're not going to be able to put the numbers up. So you can't look at the numbers and say he's not an NBA guy, but he does it on the defensive end. He's a great three-point shooter, and he can handle the rock. So that's what you're looking for, a young 3-and-D player that can handle the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see. But like I said, this is episode 76 of Stats Over Politics. Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy signing out. And like I said, the pack is back. We will see you guys next Monday for episode 77 of Stats Over Politics. We will be rejoined with our guys, Garry and Shaun, recapping the divisional round and our NFC and AFC championship picks. I purposely did not say that because the pack is back, baby. Let's go. You guys have a great rest of your night. We are signing off here, and we appreciate you guys. Before we get out of here, just please continue to support on all of our social medias. Tony and I were talking about it earlier today. We have grown so much in this year span, and it's all credit to you guys. So we appreciate you guys greatly. I talk for not only me and Toddy, but for Garry and Shaun as well. We appreciate it, and we love the continued support. And thank you, Alex, for the love on the podcast, man. You have a great day as well, man. We will see you guys on Monday. Signing off. And Toddy, the pack is back, baby.